Paiste.
This is for you.
This is for my fans. This is Paiste 15-inch Sound Edge hi-hats that Zach Jones gave you. That's the name you're going to know pretty soon. Okay, and this is Dave Jones and Alex Dodi.
All right. You ready? Go ahead.
I guess really interrupt now. Okay, go ahead. Welcome to Ask Earl Anything. This is a show where your questions make the show. Without your questions, I don't have a show. Today is the end of March. I think it's March 27th, 2022, and I'm recording the April show of Ask Earl Anything. Lots of stuff I want to cover this weekend. I have a few questions, not as many as I've had in the past, but I'm going to start with a couple things that are on my heart that I want to talk about today, and then we will get into the questions for this month. First off, the video that you saw in the front end is my good friend Dave Jones and Alex Dodi. These are two guys I've played with before. I've actually shared some footage from playing in church with these guys. David and I go all the way back to Saved by Grace. He was the guitar player in Saved by Grace after we did the album. He came on and played guitar on a couple shows. We didn't get to go too far after Dave showed up in the band, unfortunately, but Dave and I stayed close friends. He did weddings and club dates and gigs with me and in-town gigs, and then I did a lot of church gigs with him. And during that time, you know, we had growing families. I had my 3 kids, and he had 2 kids. He has a son and a daughter, and his daughter's name is Natalie, and his son's name is Zach Jones. And Zach's somebody I've talked about before here because Zach was he was the kid that would hang around when we were doing worship rehearsals, and he'd watch the drums, and he became a drummer. And early on, I got to share a little bit about how to play a couple things, but truthfully, the one who taught him how to play drums the most was probably his dad. And his dad brought him into church at a young age, probably 10, 11 years old, and started to let him play drums in church. And Zach took off. And from there, Zach has had a career. Zach is studied at in New York City at used to be called, what is it called? It's called the Collective. It used to be called Drummers Collective back in my day. He studied with Bernard Purdy. He lives in Brooklyn, New York. He's played with Great Big World and a bunch of other artists that came out of that area and went out and did some tours. He's played on Broadway. He's done a lot of stuff, and he's played on a couple Sting albums. And I've mentioned him before, but now I'm officially mentioning Zach for a reason. Zach, as of March of this year, is now Sting's touring drummer, and he's in Europe right now, and he's coming to the United States, and Zach's on tour with Sting, and he took the gig from Josh Freese. I guess Josh Freese didn't want to do it anymore, and it was time for somebody new to have an opportunity. Now, Zach's been part of the Sting family for at least 5 years. I think the first time he turned up was at an all-star game, in a basketball all-star game, I think in 2016. And he's been on television, different shows, TV shows with Sting. So he's the guy that Sting calls when he's in New York and none of the other LA drummers are around and he needs a drummer. He calls Zach. And Zach was on his label, the same label he was on back in 2010 or 11. Can't remember, with a band called Secret Someones. So anyhow, I'm very proud of Zach. I have one of his cymbals. It's a crack cymbal. His dad gave me a whole bag of crack cymbals. I've since given most of them away, but I kept this 1K that Zach cracked. And if Zach ever gets down here and I can catch up with him in this non-COVID world, love to have him sign it for me, because Zach is famous now. But now Zach is a Paiste endorser too. So what you'll see in the video actually is you'll see a little bit of me promoting our little, we're going to jam. David and Alex and I are going to jam, and what I'm jamming on is David's kit with a set of 15-inch Paiste sound-inch hi-hats were Zach's, and Zach gave them to David. So anyhow, they sounded great. Makes me want to get a set of 15-inch sound-inch Paiste hi-hats. So anyhow, kudos to Zach Jones. Maybe someday I'll interview him. Who knows? Great kid. He's a kid. Anybody that's 35 years old is a kid to me, okay? I'm 61. That's the way life is, That's where that goes. So that's what the footage is on the front end and the back end of the show this week. I'm showing a little bit of my good friend Dave Jones and Alex Dodi, who I love working with those guys and playing with. Now, why was I playing with them? That brings me to my second point. This has been a tough couple months for my wife and I, especially my wife. My wife has lost her brother and sister in the last 2 months, and we went up to New Jersey in March for 2 funerals. Not on the same day, 2 separate funerals, sister and brother, and it was a really hard week, but it was an opportunity to see friends and people we love in New Jersey. So that gave me a couple weeks where I wasn't playing drum covers on the weekends, so I'm really behind on that kind of stuff. And I think you can see it. I've been putting out some other content, alternate content, etc. But it's making me reevaluate things, what I'm doing and why I'm doing, and maybe I'm overexposed anyhow. So that's the way I feel about it. But the idea of death, it's been something I've been dealing with a lot, and this is a lot of grief. And even though Steph and I are both dealing with it well, and Steph's dealing with it very well, I can't say that it doesn't cloud your life when you deal with these kinds of issues in life. Now, I know the world this weekend is dealing with the drumming world is dealing with the death of Taylor Hawkins, the drummer from Foo Fighters. May him rest in peace. He was another great drummer that left us too soon. 50 years old is too soon. And now that I'm 61, I can tell you that 61 is too soon, for sure. And 71 is too soon, and 80 is too soon. And I just feel for the Foo Fighter band, and that's all I want to say about that. I will say this weekend was also a weekend my wife was away. She was at a conference. So I had an opportunity to watch some documentaries on Netflix, and I watched 2 documentaries that really inspired me this week. The first documentary was David Foster, his life. He's in his 70s now. He's produced so many hit records. Whitney Houston, Josh Groban, Andrea Bocelli, Chicago, Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, it just goes on. Celine Dion, Barbra Streisand. Definitely somebody, definitely a documentary you want to watch. It really inspired me. And the other one was Quincy Jones. It's called Quincy from 2015. And he was in his 80s at that point, 81, 82. It really inspired me that there is more to life than thinking about death at 61. So my goal with all the grief and all the pain that I've experienced over the last couple of years with my son and all this other stuff going on is we have to choose each day to walk forward and to move forward and to take every breath and every moment captive and be grateful and thankful to God for what we have. So I'm trying to live that way. My wife's trying to live that way. And I am just so grateful that I have the opportunity to talk to you people that like to watch my drum covers, you drummers that like to watch my drum covers. And I'm so thankful that I have family around me and good friends from years and years and years that I can still play music with and be with and hang out with and love on. That's what life's about. Life's about pouring onto others and pouring into others. So I understand people deal with depression and all kinds of stuff. I think that was part of what I've seen in a lot of people. And the will to live has a lot to do with you getting through things. I will tell you that my sister-in-law, who just passed away, had some will to live. She was dealing with cancer for 6 years. And in the end, she didn't want to die. The day that she was in hospice, she was going, I'm not dying. It's just incredible will to live, to be there for her family. That has a lot to do with things in life. So all I can say is it ain't over yet. Keep on staying healthy. Keep doing the things you need to do to make you feel better and your life better. And enjoy the people God puts in your life. That's what I try to do every day with my kids, my grandkids, my wife, my relationships at work, the musicians I get to hang out with, the people at my church, and anybody I meet on the street where I can be kind and compassionate to. I think that's what life is about. Life's about sharing and loving others in a compassionate way. So anyhow, I hope this is an inspiration to some of you and that you guys can embrace that. So without further ado, I got some questions, but I wanted to also do one other thing. Today I want to thank some of the people that watch my drum covers on a daily basis. Now I know I'm going to miss some. I'm looking at today's drum cover, and I did one on Chicago. It was Taking It on the Uptown. Very funky old Chicago tune. I really had a tough time with it, to be honest. It came out better than I expected. So it took me a while to do that one. But I want to thank some people that watch my channel faithfully, and I just want to thank. So first off, I want to thank Keith Scott, longtime follower. Paco Drums. Follow Paco Drums. Great drummer from, I believe he's from Portugal. I don't believe he's from Spain, but I think he's from Portugal. Check him out. Great drummer. Really nice, encouraging guy. Jay Metz, a new friend. His name is Jeff. Really nice guy. Rich Raw Dog was on this one. Of course, everybody knows Rich. Everybody loves Rich. I want to thank Mickey F., Brian Drums, Brian Corey. Thank you for your support, Brian. That's all I can say. Thank you for your support. You are one of the ones that supports me every day. You and Paco are on every one of these things every day. 805 Breeze, a new friend named John. Yes, John, I was in New Jersey, but I did not have time to stop to see anybody that other than family. It was a kind of a family trip, except for my friend Dave Jones and Alex Dodi, who are family to me, by the way. Greg One-Off, another friend, a new one. Couple other ones. Chad, Double Deuce Drums. Tate Berkey. I mean, Tate commented on the Chicago one. That just amazed me. By the way, I actually shouted out to Tate in the description because I thought Tate's cover of Taking on the Uptown was incredible. But a couple other people, are going to be asking questions today too. One is Lori Jones, good friend on YouTube, and every day he seems to have something to ask, so definitely want to shout out to these guys that actually watch my videos all the time and are constantly commenting on it. So thank you all for that. Let me see what else. Is there anybody else I want to say? I don't want to miss anybody. There's so many guys I see every day. Randy Edwards is another one. Jim Flies too. Jim Huey, great drummer too. Check out Jim Huey. So many guys. So thank you all for watching my channel and being there and watching my videos. All right, got 4 questions for Ask Earl Anything. The first question comes from Vince Gomez. He asked some questions last time, a bunch of questions. So here's the questions he has for this month. He said, what kind of mount do you use for your iPad? Now, I use this iPad to shoot a lot of my videos. So what is the mount? Now the mount's over here. It is called a iShot G7 Is it Project or Pro? Not sure. iShot G7. It's just it compresses. It's interesting. Let me pull it in for a second. There we go. Take it off the stand. This is what it looks like. It actually has a clip that clips on the stand. It's an iShot G7 Pro, and it adjusts. It's good for a small iPad or a big iPad. It works for both. Useful. Anyhow, that's what I use. Now, the other thing he said was, have you tried iPad placement in your setup, i.e. above the bass drum or right hi-hat or right at the foot drum? Oh, by the way, I have another iPad holder. It's over here that holds my, this is my other iPad. This is my transport for the, for Logic. And this is a DW iPad holder. DW made one, but then DW realized that iPad was going to keep changing its size every year. So this is actually only good for certain iPads, and it actually fit my original iPad from 2012. So that's the only thing this will not hold any other iPad but this iPad. So I have one of these too that holds my iPad. Do I want to put it on my kit? No. I use the iPad holder to stand on a camera stand and then usually shoot at me, either forward, in front of me, off the side, from behind me. As you know, I choose camera angles that are at will, constantly changing things up. I like the shot above a lot, but from the side looks good. I have this over here. I got another thing over here that shoots from my phone. This is on my phone stand. So anyhow, I'm constantly thinking about other ways to do this. One of the things I'm thinking about right now, and I haven't invested yet, but I'm thinking about actually buying a couple dedicated cameras so I could do live streams and drum lessons with better camera setup and video, audio from my board. So that's one of the things I'm thinking about. I do teach some drum lessons. I don't teach a lot. So if you want a Skype lesson with me, you can write me in one of these videos and say, hey, I'd like to take a lesson, and I'll get back with you about pricing and all that kind of stuff. But right now I do Skype lessons with an iPad, but I'd like to have a better setup for that. All right. The next question, that's all yours, Vince. Next question comes from Lori Jones, and Lori Jones asked the question, I don't know what the meaning of the term Constantinople is when describing a cymbal. What are the characteristics that give a cymbal that name? And what is their history and their genre they suit? All right, Lori, the Constantinople line comes from Zildjian, and it goes back to their heritage in Turkey. Now, Constantinople is also known as Istanbul. Back in the day, it was called Constantinople. So that's where if you ever read that Dr. Seuss book, Constantinople and Timbuktu, that's where the words came from. It's from a place in Turkey. So that's where the birthplace of cymbals are. Now, what is the Constantinople line for Zildjians? It is a darker jazz cymbal along the lines of the Keropes. It is a K cymbal, meaning it's a K Zildjian cymbal. So when you see Constantinople, it's got a K logo on it too. I have no Constantinople cymbals. I've been looking at buying them for 20-something years, but never bought one. But Constantinople's referred to, the reference goes back to Turkey, being it's a Turkish-made, hand-hammered cymbal. That's what it means. But Zildjian's done a lot with hand hammering and a lot with different lines of K cymbals, like the Keropes, the Constantinoples, and then there's all these offshoots of Ks. So that's really what it references, Lori. Hopefully that helps you, though. So thanks for that question. The next question comes from Greg Onehoff. And Greg asked a question. He said, I remember you talking about a less expensive drumstick. Have you tried Amazon? I got a dozen for $25. It's tax and shipping free. I know they're seconds, but they work well enough for me. I'll try to give Sweetwater my business, but had a pretty good deal. They were all sold out. Again, love your show. Thanks. Take care of yourself and your family. Okay. So when it comes to cheap sticks, cheaper sticks, I have bought bundles of sticks from Guitar Center, Sam Ash back in the day, Musician's Friend. And when you buy the big packs of like 10 pairs of drumsticks, you're really getting some of the worst drumsticks. That's all I can tell you. Every once in a while, you get a few good ones, a couple good pairs. And I've had some success. I used to have great success for the ones they were selling at Sam Ash back in the 80s and 90s. 80s and 90s Sam Ash, it seemed like their seconds came from Capella or Vader. And they just fit my style. They were fusion style drumsticks with the ball tips or the GAD style drumsticks with the ball tips. But I find that the 5As, when you buy like a bag of 5As, like I did once from Musician's Friend, they were some of the worst sticks ever. I sold them to kids when I was teaching some lessons. So that's really why I bought them. Really cheap drumsticks, would not use them. Now, if you want a good second pair of drumsticks, my choice is, this is my choice stick is Los Angeles 5A, but my choice of second stick is Goodwood 5As by Vader. And the place where I buy them from is Sweetwater. And there's a good deal on it, 6 pairs for $20 right now. Even though my good friend Mike Fasano told me that drumstick prices are going up by $2 a pair in April. He's a Vic Firth endorser, by the way. And he's having issues getting supply chain from Vic Firth for the endorsers. So they're selling sticks, and they don't even have sticks for their endorsers to make the sticks they need. So it's kind of a strange world. But the Goodwoods are close, but they're mismatched too. I mean, I like a heavier stick, personally, and this one feels a little light. So you get what you pay for, you know what I mean? So it's hit or miss. But I've had other ones. It's perfect. This is a perfect stick. It's probably got a little bit of a roll to it, but for the most part, I can't tell the difference between this and the 5A that I've got in my hand. That's a Los Angeles Vader 5A. So from my perspective, that's where I go. Now, there could be a little bit of a curvature to them, a little bit, banana-ish. I don't really care usually, unless it's super banana. If the thing's bent like this, that's a problem. But if it's like a little bent, it doesn't normally do anything for me. But I don't trust the bundles of sticks. I bought them at Guitar Center before. Same thing as Musician's Friend. They're just really, really bad a lot of times. So it's hit or miss. You may get a few good pairs out of the deal, but you may not get what you think you're getting. So be careful when you buy online from Amazon. You never know what you're getting there. Sometimes, like the little gel clings I told you about, I bought. Matter of fact, I had one over here. It's missing. It fell on the floor, and I threw it away, I think. But I'm not going to take this off, because if you take this off, it's never going back on. But I got a little round gel cling here on some of these toms that I bought those for $48 for $9. Do not spend the money on them. I like the clear gels because they look better on my heads, unless you guys brag on me about having tape on my drum heads. But in actuality, they are some really bad. They're just bad. They're not very good. So don't waste your money on them. Unless you're willing to have 50% of them work and 50% of them fall on the floor, because that's what happened. So the adhesive didn't work, and they're a one-time pony. Once you put it on the head, don't remove it. You're not going to be picking it up like moon gel. Like, you get a piece of moon gel. This is clear moon gel, by the way. Cut in half. It's going to you can clean this and reuse it. But this other stuff, no, you can't do anything to it. So just a thought. That was a freebie. Nobody asked me that question. All right, my last question, I believe, comes from Windsurf03. I think this is Brooke, my friend Brooke. Thank you, Brooke, for watching my channel. Brooke's been a long-time follower. Brooke says, hey, question for your next session. Maybe you've already told the story. How old were you when you started drumming? And what got you interested? All right. That's a great story. I started playing drums set at 15. I started playing drums as a child, I believe in 6th grade. I took I had the practice pad, went in the drum thing, got into the bands, school band pretty quick, concert band. I had this thing for drums as a kid. I was 5 years old. I got my first little paper Noble Cooley drum kit, the paper ones you go through. I don't think it made 2 days into Christmas before the heads were broken not by me, but by other people playing my drums. So I didn't even get to break the heads, so to speak. But I remember going to parades and hearing snare drums and tenor drums and bass drums. It just made my heart warm. You know what I mean? When I went into 5th grade and I was playing, doing music in 5th grade, I started on clarinet. And the reason I started on clarinet was my grandfather was a saxophone clarinetist player. I never met my grandfather. He died way before I ever was here. He died when my mom was 5 years old. So I never met my grandfather, but I heard all the stories about he was a big band musician, blah, 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 and saxophone. So I took it up. And then here's what happened. 5th grade, I had the opportunity to go into Little League or play Cub Scout softball. And my mom said, Earl, I'm not going to let you play Little League because you're going to get hit in the face with a ball. And it's going to break your teeth. That's what she said to me. My mom, prophetic mom, my mom. Anyhow, I didn't play Little League. I played Cub Scout softball, underhand softball. So I'm playing underhand softball. We got done with the game. We lost. Mom takes me to the Acme, the supermarket in town. And she says to me, go get something. Anyhow, I went and got something. It was in front of the registers. And I was coming back to get to her. And I decided to go between the registers to get to her. And there were these little chains that used to hang there, these little hanging chains. And I tried to jump over the chain. And in my jumping over the chain, I tripped, my foot caught it. I got caught in it, and I fell on my face and broke my 2 front teeth right here. By the way, these are caps that have been on my teeth since 17 years of age. That's when I got my adult caps at 17. Needless to say, my woodwinds playing days were over with. So I couldn't play woodwinds anymore. I couldn't be a saxophone player or a clarinetist because didn't have front teeth. You have to have front teeth. The embouchure, it's called. For playing saxophone, you got to have the mouth to do it. Anyhow, didn't have it anymore in 5th grade, so I switched to drums. And it just took. By 15, I got a drum kit, and I was off to the races. By 17, I was in my first band, and by 18, I was in college studying music and playing gigs and doing other things, and it just took off from there. So that's my story, how I got started, pretty much. It really was switching instruments from something I really didn't want to play. I wasn't a very good clarinetist. I didn't really enjoy it. I never enjoyed reading music, but once I started playing drums, I realized you didn't have to read music to play drums necessarily. Now, it helps to read music, and that's another story. And there's lots of questions usually about those things that I've answered on other shows. And yes, I do read music. But back in that day, reading music was not my strong suit. So, yeah, that's when I started, and that's how I got going, Brooks. So thanks for asking that question. Anyhow, that's Ask Earl Anything. This week was less questions, less philosophizing. I'm going to say one other thing. Believe it or not, I do think I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm going to probably do 1 or 2 less cover releases a week. That's my goal. I have this obsession with releasing stuff for some reason. But I think I get stale if all I'm doing is releasing, and I think I'm stale for you guys. You guys kind of like stop watching, so maybe you'll watch more if I release less. Love to hear feedback in the comments. Anyhow, thank you all for watching. One other thing. Today, another reason why I'm slowing down is today I did a recording session for my friend David Ubinati. I'm going to share a video link to his YouTube video of a song I played on. He's an animator. He does that animation, and it's a pretty cool video. And I played drums on it. So the real drums are made. There's some electronic drums on it, but also today I did another session for him. So I'm going to turn that into kind of like a video about how I do a session and some takes and different ways of, thinking about it, and I'll talk about it. And once it probably won't be released for a while. It's something that's germinating in me. But once I figure out what he does with it and I get a cut of it, I'll basically try to marry some video up and me playing it. And I have some mixes I did today. I'm not sure what he's going to use and what he's going to do to me, because that's the new world of recording, is they do stuff to you. So, but had some fun playing, and this was the kit I used today. It was 10, 12, 14, 16 concert toms, 5-inch Black Beauty, and Paiste cymbals. So, anyhow, link to David's video will be in the description. Thank you all for watching. And enjoy some more music from Dave Jones, Alex Dodi, and myself at Dave's house. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.